Well, I'm Fieschi, and I am the Director of Counterpoint, which is the think tank for the British Council. I participated today in the European Culture Forum on a specific session about major international partners, but actually what the session really focused on, in terms of what I'd been asked to talk about, was essentially, given the context of an emphasis of more balanced cultural relations, what do cultural relations or cultural diplomacy, as some refer to it, what does it look like for the future? What does it mean that we need to take on board in order to have more balanced cultural diplomacy?
And were there any tools or future actions that emerged during this debate and interest of participants to develop and take actions?
Well, it was interesting because I was one of 3 participants, and the other 2 participants really stressed the more institutional aspects of cultural relations for the future. And I felt that one of the things that needed also to be emphasized, and obviously this is only a complement to what's being done institutionally, but actually is to look at, first of all, the new tools and how these new tools are shaping the way that people think of cultural relations and cultural exchanges. So I made a couple of points. I mean, one point I think that is very dear to my heart is the idea that we're talking about a context in which cultural relations are much more decentralized, much more fragmented, and where people aren't waiting necessarily for large institutions to come and set up the exchanges or set up the programs or the projects. A lot of people are doing it for themselves. So I think that one of the big challenges for us, an institution like the British Council, but also for our counterparts, for an institution or an organization like UNIC, and for European institutions at large, is actually how we learn to play a different kind of role in this new landscape of cultural relations, which is more about brokering, more about facilitating, and really more about supporting what people are starting to do for themselves. And that requires a whole new set of skills in terms of being aware of new actors in civil society, being aware of new tools, and that was, I suppose the second main point, which is that, cultural relations are a two-way street. It's not just because we choose to make them a two-way street, but it's because we live in a world where more than ever people are able to engage on their own terms. They can choose where they can engage. I mean, that's, obviously for the more fortunate amongst us, but certainly it's important that we take on board essentially the whole of 2.0 culture in order to rethink how we carry out cultural relations.
And so it's developing virtual tools or new digital tools, as well as capacity building for civil society actors and changing the way we speak with those partners.
I think that's it. We're going to have to change the way that we speak because different people are speaking to us in different ways, and they're coming to us, directly. That's on a good day. On a bad day, they're not coming to us at all. So we need to be aware of who these new actors are. And also, I think one of the things that we really need to take into account is that we sometimes hide behind these notions of technology as if it were incredibly complex, incredibly complicated. We hide behind the idea of the digital divide. But when I travel and I go to India, I go to China, I go to Lagos, everyone has, at least in Africa, at least 2 or 3 mobile phones. This is what they use to connect and to communicate. It's also up to us to use the technology that they've got in novel and different ways. And sometimes it's very basic. Some of the projects we're involved in, all it takes is Skype. So it's free, it's easy, it's easily available, and it means asking ourselves, I think, the question of who civil society is right now, who these actors are in civil society. Some of them wouldn't recognize themselves as civil society actors, right? They would just think, well, we're a bunch of individuals who are interested in doing X. How well equipped are we as institutions and organizations to support them in those endeavors? I think that's the major challenge for us.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.